Okay, so let's look at the northern plain. Now, the northern plain has been formed by the interplay of three major river systems, namely the Indus, the Ganga, and the Brahmaputra, along with their tributaries. Now, this plain, the northern plain, is formed of alluvial soil. The deposition of alluvium in a vast basin lying at the foothills of the Himalaya over millions of years formed this fertile plain. It spreads over an area of 7 lakh square kilometer. The plain being about 2400 km long and about 240 to 320 km broad is a densely populated physiographic division. With a rich soil cover combined with adequate water supply and favorable climate, it is agriculturally a productive part of India. The rivers coming from the northern mountains are involved in the depositional work. In the lower course, due to gentle slope, the velocity of the river decreases, which results in formation of riverine islands. Now, the rivers in their lower course split into numerous channels due to deposition of silt. These channels are known as distributaries. The northern plain is broadly divided into three sections. The western part of the northern plain is referred to as the Punjab Plains. Formed by the Indus and its tributaries, the larger part of this plain lies in Pakistan. The The Indus and its tributaries, the Jhelum, the Chenab, the Ravi, the Beas, and the Satluj, originate in the Himalayas. This section of the plain is dominated by the Doabs. Now, do you know that a Doab is made up of two words, Do meaning two and Ab meaning water? Similarly, Punjab is also made up of two words, Panj means five and Ab meaning water. Now, the Ganga Plain extends between Ghaggar and Tisa rivers. It is spread over the states of northern India, Haryana, Delhi, UP, Bihar, partly Jharkhand and West Bengal to its east. Particularly in Assam lies the Brahmaputra Plain. The northern plains are generally described as flat land with no variations in its relief. Well, it is not really true. These vast plains also have diverse relief features. According to the variations in the relief features, the northern plains can be divided into four regions. So that's based on the variations of the relief features. The rivers, after descending from the mountains, deposit pebbles in a narrow belt of about 8 to 16 km in width, lying parallel to the slopes of the Shivaliks. This is known as Bhabar. All the streams disappear in this Bhabar belt. South of this belt, the streams and rivers re-emerge and create a wet, swampy and a marshy region known as the Terai. This was a thickly forested region full of wildlife. The forests have been cleared to create agricultural land and to settle migrants from Pakistan after partition. Try to locate the Dudhwa National Park in this region on your map. Then the largest part of the northern plain is formed of older alluvium. It lies above the floodplains of the rivers and presents a terrace-like feature. This is known as bhangar. The soil in this region contains calcareous deposits, locally known as the kankar. The newer, younger deposits of the floodplains are called khadar. These are renewed almost every year and so are fertile and thus ideal for intensive agriculture. Now let us look at the Peninsular Plateau. So the Peninsular Plateau is a tableland composed of the old crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rocks. It was formed due to the breaking and drifting of the Gondwana land and thus making it a part of the oldest landmass. The plateau has broad and shallow valleys and rounded hills. This plateau consists of two broad divisions, namely the Central Highlands and the Dukkhan Plateau. The part of the Peninsular Plateau lying to the north of the Narmada River, covering a major area of the Malwa Plateau, is known as the Central Highlands. The Vindhyan Range is bounded by the Satpura Range on the south and the Aravalis on the northwest. The further westward extension gradually merges with the sandy and rocky desert of Rajasthan. The flow of the rivers draining this region, namely the Chambal, the Sindh, the Betwa, and the Ken, is from the southwest to the northeast, thus indicating the slope. The Central Highlands are wider in the west but narrower in the east. The eastward extensions of this plateau are locally known as the Bundelkhand and the Bagalkhand. The Chota Nagpur Plateau marks the further eastward extension, drained by the Damodar River. Now, the Dukkhan Plateau is a triangular landmass that lies to the south of the river Narmada. The Satpura Range flanks its broad base in the north, while the Mahadev, the Kaimur Hills, and the Michael Range form its eastern extensions. Now locate these hills and ranges in the physical map of India from your textbook. The Dukkhan Plateau is higher in the west and slopes gently eastwards. An extension of the plateau is also visible in the northeast. Locally known as the Meghalaya, Karbi Anglong Plateau, and the North Kachar Hills. It is separated by a fault from the Chota Nagpur Plateau. Three prominent hill ranges from the west to the east are Garo, the Khasi, and the Jaintia Hills. The Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats mark the western and the eastern edges of the Dukkhan Plateau respectively. Western Ghats lie parallel to the western coast. They are continuous and can be crossed through passes only. Locate the Thal, Bor, and Pal Ghats in the physical map of India. The Western Ghats are higher than the Eastern Ghats. Their average elevation is 900 to 1600 meters as against 600 meters of the Eastern Ghats. The Eastern Ghats stretch from the Mahanadi Valley to the Nilgiris in the south. The Eastern Ghats are discontinuous and irregular and dissected by rivers draining into the Bay of Bengal. The Western Ghats cause orographic rain by facing the rain-bearing moist winds to rise along the western slopes of the Ghats. The Western Ghats are of the Western Ghats progressively in Muri, which is 2,637 meters. Nilgiri is 1,501 meters, and in Chevroy Hill in the are located to the southeast. Southeast of the Eastern Ghats. Now locate the famous hill stations of Udagamandalam, popularly known as Uti and Kodaikanal. One of the distinct features of the Peninsular Plateau is the black soil area known as the Dukkhan Trap. This is of volcanic origin, hence the rocks are igneous. Actually, these rocks have denuded over time and are responsible for formation of black soil. The Aravali Hills lie on the western and the northwestern margins of the Peninsular Plateau. These are highly eroded hills and are found as broken hills. They extend from Gujarat to Delhi in a southwest to northeast direction. Now let us look at the Indian desert. The Indian desert lies towards the western margins of the Aravali Hills. It is an undulating sandy plain covered with sand dunes. This region receives very low rainfall, below 150 mm per year. It has an arid climate with low vegetation cover. Streams appear during the rainy season. Soon after they disappear into the sand as they do not have enough water to reach the sea. Luni is the only large river in this region. Here is a picture of the Indian desert. Now, birchans or crescent-shaped dunes cover larger areas, but longitudinal dunes become more prominent near the Indo-Pakistan boundary. If you visit Jaisalmer, you may go to see a group of birchans. Now let's look at the coastal plains, the picture of which is given here. Now, the Peninsular Plateau is flanked by the stretch of narrow coastal strips running along the Arabian Sea on the west and the Bay of Bengal on the east. The western coast, sandwiched between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea, is a narrow plain. It consists of three sections. The northern part of the coast is called the Konkan, that is Mumbai to Goa. The central stretch is called the Kannad Plain, while the southern stretch is referred to as the Malabar coast. The plains along the Bay of Bengal are wide and level. In the northern part, it is referred to as the Northern Sarkar, which, while the southern part is known as the Coromandel coast. Large rivers such as the Mahanadi, the Godavari, the Krishna, and the Kaveri have formed extensive delta on this coast. Lake Chilika is the most important feature along the eastern coast. The Chilika Lake is the largest saltwater lake in India. It lies in the state of Odisha to the south of Mahanadi Delta. Now let us look at the islands. So you have already seen that India has a vast mainland. Besides this, the country has two groups of islands. Can you identify these island groups? So you need to locate the Lakshwadeep Islands group lying close to the Malabar coast of Kerala. This group of islands is composed of small coral islands. Earlier they were known as Lakshadweep, Minicoy, and the Amindiv. In 1973, these were named as Lakshwadeep. It covers small area of 32 square kilometer. Kavaratti Island is the administrative headquarters of Lakshwadeep. The island group has great diversity of flora and fauna. The Pitti Island, which is uninhabited, has a bird sanctuary. Now, what are corals? Coral polyps are short-lived microscopic organisms which live in colonies. They flourish in shallow, mud-free and warm waters. They secrete calcium carbonate. The coral secretion and their skeletons from coral deposits in the form of reefs. They are mainly of three kinds: barrier reef, fringing reef, and atolls. The Great Barrier Reef of Australia is a good example of the first kind of coral reef. Atolls are circular or horse-shaped coral reefs. Now you see that the elongated chain of islands located in the Bay of Bengal extending from the north to south. These are the Andaman and the Nicobar Islands. They are bigger in size and are more numerous and scattered. The entire group of islands is divided into two broad categories: the Andaman in the north and the Nicobar in the south. It is believed that these islands are an elevated portion of submarine mountains. These island groups are of great strategic importance for the country. There is great diversity of flora and fauna in this group of islands too. These islands lie close to equator and experience equatorial climate and has a thick forest cover. Now, a detailed account of different physiographic units highlights the unique features of each region. It would, however, be clear that each region complements the other and makes the country richer in its natural resources. The mountains are the major sources of water and forest wealth. The northern plains are the granaries of the country. They provide the base for early civilizations. The plateau is a storehouse of minerals which has played a crucial role in the industrialization of the country. The coastal region and island groups provide sites for fishing and port activities. Thus, the diverse physical features of the land have immense future possibilities of development.